Yo.
What up? What up?
Yo. Welcome to episode 11.
Oh,
Woo, we doing it big.
how's the week, man?
It's a good week, man. A lot of stuff going on, bro.
Dude,
Oh, my God.
I'm going stir crazy in the house, man. But listen, I don't even listen. But let's not go off on a tangent before we even get started. I want to give a shout out to a gentleman that we know, and gentleman is a good name for this guy, Cyprian Bertram Higgins, or as we like to call him, Mr. Higgins. He passed away about a week and a half ago. This guy is somebody that we both know.
Yeah.
And a lot of mutual friends of ours, old co-workers, know this gentleman really well. He was our security guard in the building that we used to work in. And to say that he is just a security guard would be, a disservice to this guy. He was an older gentleman.
In his 90s, man. He's working into his 90s with us.
Yeah, well, I mean, he passed away at 94, right? So
Yeah.
I got to say he was at least 90 or maybe 89, definitely late 80s at least when he retired.
Wow.
But this guy, I think the amazing thing that I remember about him was his ability to remember everyone's name. And you're talking about 200 plus people in a corporate office. And this guy knew everyone's name. And it escaped me for years of how he knew everyone's name, or even how he even got to know mine. I'd assume that he probably asked, a friend of mine, somebody that knew me, what have you, right? And it wasn't until, I think we worked in that office probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't until the latter part of that stint where he came to me one evening, and someone who had started recently was walking out the door. And he's like, "Hey, Sean, like, what's that person's name?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that's so-and-so, and they work in, whatever marketing department or IT or whatever." And then it dawned on me. Then I'm just like, "Oh, that's how he does it."
That's probably what he did for everybody.
Now,
Yeah.
what's funny is, I'm like, now I wonder if he went back and wrote it down. Like, I'll never know, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what his method was, but the guy knew everyone's name in the building. I know that there was a ton of women that used to work in there that would work late nights, and he would walk them out to their cars. Like, always made sure that everybody was sort of safe, and just a pleasure, a real pleasure to see on a daily basis, and to see on your way out, like he made you smile on the way out,
Yeah, absolutely, man. I remember, like you said, he'd always address you. He'd be like, "Oh, Mr. Juan," and then it would always make me feel awkward because I'm like, "Dude, just call me Juan." You said, man, just caring guy. I used to have some late nights working, and I remember he would go up and check on me, and he'd be like, "Oh, I saw the lights were off, but the one over your crew was on, just checking on you," and he would check if you ate, and or if he saw your car out there, he would walk around and go like, "I just want to make sure that like you're in the building and nothing happened to you." Just an awesome guy. Like you said, I had no idea how he learned my name, because I just remember one day he would just call me Mr. Juan. And I think I was walking out and he goes, "Mr." And I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
He just called me, and of course we knew his name because everybody,
everyone knew his name. That's
everybody
right.
knew that's Mr. Higgins, right? So, but yeah, man, shout out Mr. Higgins, man. What an awesome guy. Lived a pretty full life, looks like, and just made an impact. I don't know anybody who had anything bad to say about that guy. And in fact, I think we had a bunch of coworkers who went out to his memorial today and all that. It just shows, how many of you work in a workplace that you're going to go for anything for the security guy there. And like you said, he's so much more than that, clearly, to that family. So, man, shout out Mr. Higgins.
And let me tell you, man, I think that because of COVID, right, there was probably only a few folks that showed up, maybe from the office. If not for COVID, we probably would have packed the house.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. I think it would have been really crazy if it wasn't for all this stuff going on. But yeah, Mr. Higgins definitely left his carbon footprint, man.
Absolutely, man. He is survived by a wife, 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and 4 great grandchildren. So that's awesome, right? So he got to see that, and like you said, leaving that good carbon footprint.
Yeah, man. Got to see a couple generations after him, man. That's awesome, man. Shout out Mr. Higgins and his family, man.
Shout out. Taking a drink of wine from Mr. Higgins. Raise the glass.
Oh, yeah. He was the man. It was awesome.
All right, next up on the list, Mr. John Robert Lewis. This guy, one of the leaders of the civil rights movements back in the 60s. I don't know if any of you guys seen that movie, Selma. There's that scene in Summer where they're crossing the bridge, and he's actually leading. He's actually leading that march
The
across the
march?
bridge.
Wow.
But it's the first one where they actually get beat.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
They actually
I didn't know a whole lot about him until this happened, and then I kind of read up a little bit. And it was a shame. I wish I knew more.
Yeah,
about
he
this,
was.
yeah.
So he was, he was sort of that part of that Martin Luther King group where it was very just nonviolent. A lot of folks would say, he was doing it the right way. But through his life, he's got like numerous awards. But the one that I want to call attention to, which I got some thoughts going, was he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2011 from Barack.
Oh, how great is
Right, like
that?
how awesome for that guy, right? That is going from going at the civil rights, trying to get civil rights for African Americans and doing it sort of the right way, knowing that he's gonna get ridiculed, knowing he's gonna get beat, and then living to see the first black president.
Oh my God.
And then receiving that award from him. Like that had to be one
I
of those.
can't even imagine what that.
Dude, that has to be one of those.
I would love.
Like
there has
kill
to
me
be an
now.
interview out there. Yeah, yeah.
Right?
There has to be an interview or something with him out there. Post that. I would love to see his thoughts on that, because you're right, man. Imagine you live through this movement, and then one day the first black president of the United States is giving you the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
It's like everything you fought for.
Yeah.
Right. When you see Obama get elected, it's got to be sort of that pinnacle. It's like everything you fought for, it was all worth it. And then to receive that medal from him at that time, like, just had to be an amazing moment for that guy.
Yeah, like you figure that's a special honor. Had it come from any president, but I think coming in that circumstance, coming from Barack, that had to just
Absolutely.
be like you said, that's one of those like kill me now. Like there's
Yeah.
no way that this is
This
real.
is not gonna
Or, like
get-
pinch me, like somebody. Yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah, I'm not gonna top this one.
Yeah, no, seriously, you're not gonna top. So shout out to him, man. Again, leaving his carbon footprint, man.
Raising the glass, Mr. Lewis.
And for you guys that don't know, we meet up once a week. We have a drink, and we just like to talk about whatever's going on, man. So if you're new to the podcast, welcome.
Absolutely. Welcome. Tell your friends.
Yeah. Tell them all.
Last but not least, Kelly Preston. She passed away this week, and I wouldn't normally bring this up. Obviously, it is sad. It's sad for her and her family. But man, I went back and did some research on John Travolta because I had known something had happened to his son like some time back, right? I think his son used to suffer from seizures, and I believe he had autism, and so I know he had gone through that death, and then obviously now losing his wife. So he also dated an actress back in the 70s, Diana Hyland. She also died from breast cancer,
Oh, really?
like while they were dating.
While they were dating?
So John Travolta, right? Like pop icon,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like it's his career is crazy, and you got to think of the how many decades did it span, right? Because he was a star in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, because when did Grease come out, right? He was huge. Saturday Night
It was like
Fever.
70s, and I might get this wrong. It was like 76, 77.
Wow.
I want to say around there. Maybe it's 78. I do remember my father taking my sister and I to go see that in the movies.
Grease?
Grease.
No way.
Yeah, bro. And I remember we stayed because like my sister wanted to see it like multiple times, and back then, so you just stay, right? You just stay in the theater. Nobody comes to chase you out.
And you did just replay it and
So
you get to watch it again?
Yeah.
Dude, I wasn't even a sperm cell then. I was.
But looking at this guy's span, right, of his career, and it's like, man, so you date the one woman who dies of breast cancer, then you marry one, like, dude, like.
And they were married for a long time, right? Like Hollywood marriages don't last.
But the irony,
Yeah, that she gets breast cancer too.
right, and then passes, and then a few years ago, he has that son who, like I said, he had autism and he suffered from seizures.
He got epilepsy too, right?
They go, and then they go on vacation, and the kid has a seizure, like in a shower, falls down, hits his head, and dies. And it's like, you look at John Travolta, and we all look at these celebrities and go, oh man, like they got it made. No, man, these people have the same, if not worse, problems than the rest of us.
Rest of us, man.
That guy has got to be in some serious mourning right now.
Oh
man.
fuck yeah, dude! But you know what, man? He is, and I'm sure he's devastated, bro. But you know what they're not talking about anymore with John Travolta, bro? All the masseuse that he me too'd. You see how quickly you turn to empathy for John Travolta? You don't know if you remember, not too long ago, there was masseuse coming out going, yeah, John Travolta touched me or asked me to touch him. Or like, nope, nobody's talking about that anymore, man. He had to sacrifice a wife. But damn.
You ain't right. You ain't right, but
Please don't cancel
listen,
me.
If you don't like the dark humor, just go ahead
It's
and
not the place for you.
turn it off now.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude.
Speaking of touching girls,
we on it with the segues.
that's
boy.
it.
Speaking
The football team, formerly known as the Redskins, there's like 15 women that came out,
they had a football team come out.
pretty much,
Basically.
and said that they were being sexually harassed.
Dude, does he sell at this point? He has to, right?
I don't think so, man. You know who I feel sorry for? Ron Rivera.
You're right. Like you
Right?
just took that
So
job.
you just take this job, and of course he's been coming out saying like all of the right things.
Yeah.
I think Snyder's like pushing him, like, dude, go out there and say something
Go
good.
be you. Yeah. Go. Because Ron Rivera is I mean, as far as we can see, like a great leader of men, of people, of like a CEO, basically, which is what he is, right? Of that football team, essentially. So yeah, do you think at this point Snyder goes, I'm just gonna get out of your way. You go talk.
That's what it seems like, right? Because they had, I mean, you got the naming thing going on, right? The whole changing of the name.
Yep.
Then you got the two minority partners that are jumping ship.
Yep.
Now you got these women coming out, and then Ron Rivera comes out and basically says, we're changing the culture, and which they had already been talking about,
Yeah,
right? Which
yeah.
changing the culture. But he also says something interesting. He goes, my daughter works for us now. And he's like, there's no way that shit's happening anymore.
Good for him, man.
So, he's like, again,
Good for him.
Snyder, good hire.
Yeah.
Good.
That you know what the thing is too, man, is that you hope that he does just continue to stay out of the way. Like you said, right now it benefits him, right? But Snyder's known as one of these kind of meddling owners. Right. And of course, right now it benefits him to just stay out of the way and let someone like Ron take the reins. I hope he keeps it that way because it can only get worse for him, right? Like if he comes out and talks, and I think Ron Rivera to me was so underrated as the coach of the Panthers because while Cam Newton is a beast, I still felt like Ron Rivera got a lot out of that team considering what they had. Like they had Cam, but the talent around Cam wasn't great, right? And it wasn't until they got Christian McCaffrey and all that stuff recently. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know if he makes it another year or two as the owner, because you go, these guys want out. Does he buy the rest of it and just go, screw it, I want to do whatever I want? Or does Goodell kind of like force his hand and go, dude, you gotta sell. Like you gotta get out of Washington.
Get out of here.
Give Mark Cuban an NFL team. Mark,
Look
into that.
He's been very vocal about different issues going on. But you know what? Speaking of Cam, man, I was going through. I was actually looking at Dak Prescott. I'm gonna back up here a little bit. Dak Prescott got franchise tagged this week, which for those of you who don't know sports and women, stay with me on this. For those of you who are not sports fans, so Dak Prescott, quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Was looking for like a long-term deal. Basically was getting paid like peanuts. So he was working on a rookie deal where he was getting paid like $450K and then $500K or $540, I believe it was, and then like $600. And I think his last year he got like $2 million. But definitely was, in my opinion, I shouldn't say definitely, because I know Juan disagrees with me, but I think he was probably in that top 10 tier of quarterback. Right. So he doesn't get his long-term deal, which apparently he wanted 4 years. They wanted to give him 5. And so he wouldn't sign. So they franchise tagged him, which basically says that you have to get within like the highest percentage of what the top quarterbacks are making, essentially. And so he's going to get like $31 million this year, right? So
which is what he should get at most. At most, he should get $31 million. Dude, the rumor is he turned down 35, a contract for 35 a year. He is out of his damn mind.
Like he didn't want to.
He thinks he's
for whatever reason. He didn't want the 5 years, which is actually odd because I know a lot of NFL players like they're fighting for that
for the longevity.
Yeah, right. Like look at Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year deal, right?
Which is crazy. Dude. I've never seen that in the NFL. I don't know that we'll see that a whole lot. I don't think that'll be the norm. Maybe for quarterbacks because you go someone like Dak, right? That he's clearly underpaid. Right, like I'll give him that. $400K, $600K, $2 million is underpaying Dak Prescott. If they offered him, so the rumor was somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 per year over 4 years or whatever it was, and he turned that down. He's out of his mind. There's no way. Even the 30 and the franchise tag, I would argue you're overpaying for Dak Prescott, dude. Do you think he's better than Teddy Bridgewater or Cam Newton? Like Cam Newton right now is getting 7.
No.
I would take Cam Newton in a heartbeat.
No, dude. We're going to talk about that.
Because he's getting a lot less guaranteed money, but his incentive-laden contract is worth up to like 7.5.
So
I would rather, if I'm Jerry Jones, dude, I would rather let Dak walk and I would rather give Cam Newton money. Even if I gave Cam Newton 3 or 4 years at $20 million a year, I would rather give Cam that money than give Dak 30. Are you crazy?
Dude, he's young. Dude, he's young, he's durable. Like, you don't know what you're getting with Cam, right? But
maybe not.
But speaking of Cam, because I came in here with some ammo on Dak, and then the further I went down the rabbit hole on this salary, I ran into this thing, and I gotta run these numbers by you, and this is why I want my women to stick with me on this. So we got 2 guys, Cam Newton, Jameis Winston. Right, so I know a lot of guys out there that follow football probably cringed on both of those names.
I'll take Jameis over Dak.
These guys, dude. Let me tell you who the guys are in the NFL that are gonna make more than them this year combined.
More than Dak and
no. Dak isn't paid. Dak has his 30-something, 31 million, right? Cam Newton, Jameis Winston.
Okay.
Both starters for their respective teams.
Okay.
Let's look at their resumes, right? Cam Newton, national champion in college, Heisman Trophy, NFL MVP, went to Super Bowl, and I think it's in 2015.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Lost to the Peyton Manning Broncos.
Yep.
So
who had a ridiculous defense.
Yeah.
That one. The Peyton didn't win them. That was that defense. Yep.
Most rushing touchdowns by a QB ever. Okay, we go to Jameis, who's only been in the league about 4 years. This dude has thrown just under 20,000 yards in those 4 years. 121 touchdowns, 60% completion rate. Whatever, right?
That's
but
decent.
It's decent.
Yeah.
QB rating of 87. That's like sort of career.
That's like
career QB rating.
Brady in the first 4 or 5 years. That's like better or equal to Brady.
It's yards wise, bro. It's better.
It's better. Yeah.
Yeah. So these 2 guys, and they both had their issues, right? Cam got hurt. Jameis Winston threw like a ton of interceptions.
Listen, he's an equal opportunity distributor.
Yeah, that's right.
He throws to both teams.
But you know what? They found out that the guy's vision is jacked up. And so he went and had LASIK this like in the off season, dude. Like who knew?
Can you imagine if Cam just balls out this year every time he gets a chance? He doesn't throw any picks. He's gonna be like, I told y'all my vision was messed up. I mean Jameis, yeah.
So these 2 guys signed with Jameis signs with the Saints, Cam signs with the Patriots. Now, these are the names of guys that are gonna make more than those 2 combined. So I'm talking about guaranteed money.
Okay.
Drew Lock. Matt Schaub. I thought that guy was
Matt
dead.
Schaub is in the league, bro.
He's in the league. He plays for the Falcons. He's a backup. By the way, all of these guys are backups. Listen to this list, bro. Matt Barkley.
Matt Barkley's in the league?
He's with the Bills. Robert Griffin III.
I'll take him over Dak.
Whatever. Dude. Colt McCoy is like real close.
I'll take Colt over Dak.
But he's not. He doesn't make more.
But that's my Texas bias.
Here you go. Who's this? Jeff Driscoll.
Yo, that's the kid from Florida, bro.
Horrible.
Jeff Driscoll.
Horrible. AJ
McCarron.
McCarron.
Florida don't produce no quarterbacks, man.
Bro, AJ McCarron.
Yo, Low key though.
Shut up.
AJ
Don't even-
McCarron. No. I'm gonna tell you right now, dude.
Shut up.
I always thought AJ McCarron should have had an opportunity to start in Cincinnati. I'll tell you what. AJ McCarron came in that playoff game when Dalton got hurt. Remember that team that balled out, that Cincinnati team a few years ago? I thought AJ McCarron did decent considering he never gets any playing time with the first string and all that. I've always wanted to see a. Now, granted, people see this guy at practice every day, so there's a reason no one's ever signed him, right, and made him a starter. But I don't think AJ McCarron is that bad. Now, is he better than Cam?
It's not that he's that bad, bro. The point is that the guy's making more
How much
money
does AJ McCarron make?
than $4 million. He's gonna make $4 million
He makes $4 a year, dude, to be a backup for who?
for the Texans.
Yo, I could be a shitty backup. Holla at me, NFL. If anybody's looking for a backup QB because your guys won't show up because of COVID, I'll take one for the team. I'll do it for $400K and like some Popeyes chicken sandwiches.
Bro.
You don't even have to pay me that much.
The list, it gets better. Chase Daniel.
I didn't even know he was in the league anymore.
He was the backup for the Bears. He's not anymore because they picked up Nick Foles. But never perform.
And Nick makes more, I'm assuming. Nick has a fat contract.
Nick makes more, but Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yo, I'll take Ryan over Dak.
No, you don't.
Yo,
no, you won't.
Fitzmagic?
No, you won't.
Oh, you sleeping on Fitzmagic,
Dude.
bro.
You wouldn't have taken Tannehill 2 years ago over Dak Prescott.
No, actually, I wouldn't have taken Tannehill over Mariota. I was pissed.
I know you was mad
yeah,
when
I
they
was
did
pissed.
that. But dude, and then from my Bears, Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, like way more.
Would you take Jameis right now over Mitch Trubisky?
I would take both of them. I'd take Jameis and Cam and trade out for Foles and Trubisky.
You're right.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely
it's
right.
not even close. So my point is like, you have this resume, and I know people have this stuff, and this is why I want my women to stick with me on this. You have this resume, and you are going like you're sort of a tried and true, maybe not a star, but you're damn good. And if you're gonna go to be a backup, these guys got 1 year deals with those resumes, and they're getting paid shit. And yet, look at all of these other guys, man. That get
I can
these
see
contracts.
it. I can see why Cam didn't, right? Like I can see Cam because of the injury history. And so like, and some man, and this will come back to bite me, but I always look at GMs in sports, especially football, and I feel like it's an easy job, and I don't know how guys screw it up. Like, to me, you look at Cam, and I think the risk there is injury, right? So I could see why you wouldn't give him a long-term deal. I'd give him a lot of money. Maybe I'm not going to give him as many years. But Jameis, I think what scares people away, obviously, was the picks. But I look at that, and again, it doesn't bother me. Brett Favre threw a lot of picks. So, like, to me, you can look at that as Jameis ain't afraid to just throw the ball. Like, you give your receivers an opportunity. Sometimes it's not great. Sometimes he throws some atrocious picks, right?
Dude, he threw over 5,000 yards last year. Now, again,
And you
threw a
have to
ton of
take the
picks,
good with the
right?
bad, right? Like you like if you have Jameis, a guy with that kind of arm talent, right? And that thing you don't get the 5,000 yards without the 20 picks. You just don't. So you have to be willing to give up one with for the other. And Tampa Bay's defense was decent, right? But Jameis put up over 20 points a game. I don't know what the average was, right? But he threw for a lot of yards, had a ridiculous offense around him. Stop somebody.
He also gave up 20 points.
He did, but yeah, that's fair. But
The guy was he was throwing pick sixes.
He was, but I think he was definitely worth an opportunity as a starter. You know, it would be interesting to see if he sits behind Drew Brees for a year or two, learns from someone like Sean Payton, and then Sean Payton manages to just move from the Drew Brees era right into Jameis Winston on the cheap, because you figure maybe they'll pay him for a year or two. He gets to learn maybe how to read defenses better. So you'll limit a little bit of his picks. You're not going to limit the ones where he goes, I think I can fit the ball there. You're going to limit the ones that you go, where was he throwing? Because maybe he read the defense wrong and he just chucked it up.
He couldn't see.
But and then there's that, dude. I don't think we're accounting into the fact that he's got 20/20 vision now. Like,
speaking of the Saints, Taysom Hill makes way more.
Taysom Hill to me is a tinier Tim Tebow who can catch it, man. Like, there's all this hype around this guy being the next starter for New Orleans. Not gonna happen. I'll tell you guys that shit right now. Not gonna happen. Zero chance Taysom Hill starts as a QB in the NFL. No way. He's a slot receiver.
But you know what? And it just brought me to like, and I think we've all had this in jobs, right? When you go in and you go, man, like I'm better than that person and that person and that person, and you know that they make more than you, and you go like, man, like I trained that person and I trained that person, and right, and then some, you know, some of us, you know, eventually if you leave, or you know, you go somewhere else, you know, you can usually get your market value.
Yeah.
You know, when you leave a place, but these guys, they can't leave.
So what do you think it is? You think it's the race thing?
You know what? I don't know,
Because that gets brought up a lot with quarterbacks, especially.
It does,
Yeah.
and that's true, and it could be some of that. However, I will say this: as long as you're still playing, you have an opportunity,
Yeah.
right? You have an opportunity, and it's, and like I said last week, man, it's never going to be equal. You know, for whatever reason, somebody could look at your skin color, and go, yep, those people aren't leaders. You know what I mean? Like that could be somebody's mindset.
You're not gonna get you think. I think this next generation, right? Like maybe the kids that they have will do a better job of getting that mindset out. But I think, man, I want to say it was like Charlemagne the God or something brought this up the other day. But it's a Thanos line from Avengers where he goes, as long as there's people who saw what was, you'll have people who can't see what can be. Something like that. Like I'm butchering the quote, but it's like, you know, people won't be able to, you're going to have people who are stuck to the old way. They're not going to be able to see what the new world kind of looks like because they knew what the old one looked like. And it's a perfect like quote, like Thanos was onto something there. I kind of get it now. Like we have to almost like this generation has to die off, right? Of who are breeding and raising other racist people or people with that mindset. And I think this next generation is obviously more open-minded and has been more accepting and has been willing to make progress at the expense of their own maybe progress. So I think we are a generation or two away that will go away. But yeah, in our lifetime, you know, we'll be grandfathers, great grandfathers or something. And then we'll start to see like, oh yeah, people don't even look at that anymore. Cause you know what's going to happen too, man. As I look at it, I look at even my kids, I go, there's going to be generations of just mixed kids coming. This whole thing where people used to stick like within their race and have kids and do that stuff. I go, that's starting to go away. I know a lot of people who are like mixed. And so eventually you're just going to have a bunch of mixed people around and you're going to have to just do away with like it's just naturally going to progress from.
No. We'll screw it up. We'll create another kind of class.
Yeah, we'll go classes like either money wise or thing wise, like because as human beings, we're just designed to war, right? Like or to go to war and be tribal and be whatever, right? So we'll still create cliques. It you know, it'll be something else, whatever the next thing is. It'll be people with long fingernails and people with short fingernails or some shit. It'll, you know, because that's not going away because we have this need to want to belong to something. So. And unfortunately, that means if you want to belong to that group, you have to hate the other group, which is stupid, but just kind of the way we're programmed, man.
Yeah, I think that, and this is going way off topic, but the way like the Neanderthals were extinguished was that it's like they're different than us.
They didn't look like us.
They're different than us, and so they don't belong, and we need to get rid of that.
Yeah, can you imagine if we had another human race right now?
No,
like it wouldn't never happen. We're so intolerant of anything that looks
very
different.
Intolerant.
Yeah, we're intolerant. So it would never happen. And it's weird because I wonder how long that takes to get deprogrammed because that's built in genetically, right? So are we thousands of years away, millions of years away from being like an integrated species and then moving away from that? I don't know. It might be too late. Like we'll never really know. We're gonna end up wiping out everything from the planet and then.
And it's funny. I think that most people, you know, think that we're not that far away. I think that we are. I think that we can think ahead. So like that's sort of like the brilliance of like the human mind, right? You can think of sort of the utopic or have that utopic view.
Yeah, we have imaginations.
Yes,
right?
we have fantastic imaginations, but to actually to get there, I mean, it's going to take a lot of work, and I just think it's evolution.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think you're right. It's evolution. I think it's going to be iterations of humans down the line.
When we get there, then the meteor will hit and extinguish all of us.
It'll extinguish everybody, and then there's going to be people left over, and it's going to be like the people who got hit by a meteor and the people who didn't get hit by a meteor, and then they're going to hate each other. It'll just be a whole nother wild. Oh man, dude, can we talk a little bit about this Goya thing? Oh my God!
All I saw my president with Goya beans and all types of Goya products across the desk, right? In the Oval Office.
In the Oval Office. And Ivanka with the little,
with the beans.
Si es Goya, tiene que ser bueno, with the whole ad. Which, listen, man, again, say what you want about this presidency. Their troll game is up here. Like, it's top notch trolling. Like, all that stuff. I don't know if it's illegal, but it's definitely unethical to hold that position and do what he did with the Goya products.
Dude, because
but he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's like, I'm going to do this.
Our tax dollars.
Yes. Basically. And he's taunting. Like, what are you going to do? I'm going to do this. Like, he trolls people. And like, as much as it infuriates people, it's the funniest shit in the world. I go, who'd have thought that you would have a president who would just troll, like, just as much as people would troll him, he trolls people back. Like, I'm going to miss the entertainment because this shit's entertaining. But dude, the guy from Goya, I go,
so what did he say?
He was giving a speech and he said, and it was something like to the effects of, or he was giving an interview and he was, basically the quote was something like, we should be thankful that we're under such great leadership, like of Trump or whatever. He basically called Trump a good leader, right? Which again, man, whatever, your opinion, you do with that what you will, but read the fucking room, dude. Like, you're the CEO of not only like a company, but a company obviously heavily supported by minorities. Right. And then you go, just shut up. Don't talk like politics. Like, we know half of these people think that way, right? Are in support of Trump. You figure the 1%, which the Goya CEO is in that 1%, is supportive of that. Like, we all knew that, right? But now you've come out and it's almost like just stay. We talk about this all the time. Just stay out of the politics, man. Just keep your mouth shut. And you know nothing's gonna change, dude. Everybody's buying Goya. Like, it doesn't matter. Everybody's mad last week. I'll tell you right now, man. The minute you go to Publix and you got to choose between Badilla adobo and Goya adobo, you're not picking the Badilla. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It doesn't roll off the tongue as easy,
dude,
man.
I think people already forgot about the whole Wendy's, right? Wasn't Wendy's like trying to get canceled and stuff, man?
Last week, man. Like,
yeah, if you're surprised that these these CEOs are for Trump, then keep reading. Because he has made it easier for people to have businesses. He's made it easier for businesses to thrive. He's made it easier for businesses to make more money. So for those guys, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, business is booming. So he should have that opinion, right? Like, if you're him, you're going, well, shit, my life's gotten progressively better the last 4 years. And that's his experience. But I always feel like these CEOs, man, you don't like just for someone that smart, because he's clearly not a dumb guy, right? And then I love how people start talking about you're going to hurt Goya or hurt the stock price. It's like, Goya's privately held, has been privately held its entire existence. Nothing's going to happen to those guys. But you got to know the situation you're in a lot better than that. Just don't speak on politics. Like, I don't know how hard it is to just say, like, just bow out. Next question, plead the fifth, do whatever you have to do. Or I think, and maybe he's doing the right thing by just saying, yep, our president's a good leader, regardless of who the president is. Maybe that would have been his response under any presidency, right? Because you go, maybe as a patriot, as whatever, you just say, yep, the good, because only bad can come to you if you talk shit about Trump, if you're the CEO. That's why in so many ways, I'm like, just don't talk about anything. But, this president's so petty that had he said like something bad against him, something would have went down. They would have found something that he needed and figured out a way to ruin his day, I'm sure. But
what's funny, man? I don't think that, let's say he went the other way and said Trump sucks.
Yeah.
I don't think Goya suffers at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. You could do that any other presidency, right? Blue or red. This one's pretty divisive. So this one, I don't think people would have cared. Like, because even supporters would have been like, yeah, we get it. Like, they would have been like, yeah, makes sense. Like, and they would have just moved on. Like, they'd just be like, yeah, that's why they only eat that on the other side of the wall. Like, they would have just like moved on. Like, his supporters would have expected that from Goya, right? I think what it did was it kind of fueled them to go, oh, look at this. Like, we're not as racist because obviously a guy who's predominantly brown and runs a brown company, is in support of us. Like, I think it just fuels kind of their movement. It must have made his day, because Listen, I think one of the reasons we hate Trump is because he's so much like the rest of us, and we don't want our president to be like us, right? Like I want my president to be better spoken, right? I want him to walk into a room and command the room and do that. Trump is petty. To be presidential, right? Trump is petty, right? Like he's looking for ways to piss people off. I was like, he scrolls through memes all day at work, which is what the rest of us do. Like he's on Twitter talking shit. Like, I think this is why people hate him, because they're like, no, he's just like me. I don't want him to run the country. Like. He's on there talking smack online, like he's getting into Twitter battles with people. You're just like, no, I want my president to be presidential. And maybe that's why we all hate him, because we're like, how is the guy who acts like my buddy from down the street president of the United States right now? Like, I think that's what we hate, man.
No, it's true, man. And I got to switch it up a little bit here, man. Speaking of thugs, Myles Garrett got a contract.
So when that whole thing happened, man, who called him? Somebody called him a thug on that team. Did they?
Did they really?
I'm trying to remember.
All right, hold on for the listening audience.
Nah.
We just went back to the NFL.
Okay, so yeah. So Myles Garrett was part of that issue last year where he hit the backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers with his helmet during a fight. Like he took it off and hit him, and the quarterback wasn't wearing a helmet. So it's a potentially.
It was with the quarterback's helmet.
Yes, so he took off his own helmet and tried to beat him to death with it, basically.
He took off the quarterback's helmet.
The quarterback's helmet and then swung it at him. So guys who watch NFL know. And he hit him. I think he did catch him, right? He didn't catch him solid like he intended to hit him, basically, but he caught him.
Shit looked intentional to me, bro.
No. I think it's intentional. I'm talking about when he swung it at him, he was intending to do more damage. I think the way, I don't even know because this guy doesn't matter, the quarterback, but he moved out the way, so it nicked him. It didn't get him like full solid. Like it'd have knocked him unconscious if he'd have caught him. The way he intended to hit him, it would have knocked him unconscious. But yeah, this dude got paid.
But dude, he could have killed that guy.
Yep.
And I'm like, and it just goes back to like money talks.
Yep.
Right? Like they're going, matter of fact, he was, after that incident, which happened, I believe, in November, he was suspended indefinitely.
And he was back?
He was back in February with the team. Okay. And then they just gave him a 5-year, $125 million contract. And I was like, wow, man, like this dude, listen, we all get into spaces where we would probably do dumb shit. But he could have killed that guy.
Absolutely.
Man. I don't care what that guy said. If he called him the N-word or whatever, like you can get somebody fired up, but that's just words. When you take a weapon and then swing it to kill, like, I'm sorry, man.
So at the time, I was kind of thinking he's an idiot. And I still think he's an idiot, right? Like, because you're right, he could have killed him. But I will say, I think the part we neglect about the NFL, man, is that you have rewarded these guys for violence their entire life, and then you expect them to go, and basically we set up these imaginary lines, and when you're in these lines you can be violent penalty free. And so I'm not saying he's right, I'm not defending what he did, but I think mentally, right, there's something in you that it has to be hard for you to turn that on and off when your entire life, as a middle schooler, as a high schooler, as a college football player, as an adult, your entire life for the last 10, 15 years, you've been rewarded for that type of violence. And so there has to be something in your brain sometimes that doesn't know the difference between this is the right violence and this is the wrong violence. And granted, a lot of them do a good job of separating that, right? And most of NFL guys are productive members of society, and you don't see a lot of cases with them outside of being violent. But there's something to that whole, you can't reward someone for violence forever and not expect them to have some crazy outburst like in the heat of the battle with something like that. So,
and I get that, and I don't disagree with that. However, I think that when if what's the guy's name? Rudolph, the guy for the Steelers quarterback.
I don't even remember what his name was, man. Like, Mason, I don't know. He won't be in the league next year.
Mason Rudolph.
Okay,
so,
Mason.
If he's dead or maimed, right? Like, it's then what?
Do you charge him? I don't know, man. Because you go during the confines of that. Do NFL rules prevail, or can you step in as a police force and say this guy murdered him with a helmet? I don't know how that works, man. Because maybe I guess you judge the intent, right? Because the intent was to hurt him when you take it. Because I go, what if Myles Garrett the next play gets pissed off and he blatantly disregards like a whistle and blasts Mason Rudolph and puts him in a coma? or kills him, breaks something, whatever, do you charge him the same way? Like, so now basically what we said is we've set up these imaginary rules, and you can hurt them within this set of rules, because now it's just a penalty flag, and you're not going to charge them.
That's true.
So it just
but that is still and that's still within the confines of the game. Yeah. Whereas taking off your helmet and swinging it at people has no place in the game.
It isn't, but it's more calculated, right? So if he goes, I'm not going to hit him with I'm not going to take off his helmet and hit him because it's calculated. But next play, I know I'm on a blitz and I'm going after him. I'm going to ignore the blitz. Him anyway. I'm going to pretend I'm going to hit him anyway. And so then now it's just a nuance of it was in the confines of the game. Like, where do you separate? I don't know. I think he was wrong, but I just go, that's a tricky. I don't know, man, that space to get into. I'm always with NFL players, man, it always just trips me out because, again, you're rewarding in many cases guys who they go to college, but they don't really go to college, right? So you're rewarding guys with shitty upbringings, who grow up in shitty areas, who from a very young age are looked at as the way out, right, in their family. And I don't know Myles Garrett's background, so I'm not speaking to Myles Garrett. He actually has a good,
I mean, I saw like a 30 for 30 on him. I believe it's 30 for 30. Maybe it may have been another special, but, like good upbringing, man, like kind of mild-mannered kid, obviously a freak on the field, right? But everybody that was interviewed was like, the guy's a good guy.
He's a good guy. He just had I guess one of those moments. Yeah, because NFL guys, I'm always going, man, you pick up these kids who have so much pressure, who are looked at as the person to get their family out of whatever thing is. You reward them for violence, and then you're surprised when they do something crazy. You're like, no, it's exactly what. Like, we've been feeding that this entire time.
Yeah, I know, dude. But but where do you draw the line, man?
Listen, with the NFL, man, here's the thing. Like, even so the Dolphins are talking about reopening, right? And they laid out these rules. And at first I'm reading it and I'm going, wow, they're listing this out like they're planning on having fans in the game. And then I go,
they are. And
then I thought about, well, CTE, they didn't give a shit about your brain. So what makes you think they care about your lungs? So of course they're gonna open and have fans at the stadium. Like there's been studies out that they're like, no, the hits definitely make you crazy and all that stuff. And the NFL guys are like, yeah, but so what makes you think that this coronavirus thing is any different? I'm like, you know what? Like, it doesn't shock me. Like the Miami is the worst place right now in the world, I think, as far as cases go.
Dude, it's like 1 in 3.
Yes, it's like, insane.
1 in 3 people that are being tested are coming out positive.
And the season is 6 weeks away, and they laid out this entire plan and again, kudos to them for having a plan, because one of the things that shocked me this week about the NFL was that they had the advantage that no other sports league had, which was time, right? Like, since March, they known this was a thing, and suddenly this week you still have NFL players complaining because they don't know what the plan is. And I'm like, what'd you guys, and I think they sat back and just said, oh, it'll be gone by then, like maybe, but they seem so ill prepared. But then the Dolphins laid out in their stadium is all these certifications that it's passed, and it's the only stadium in the world that has these certifications for for germ control and for cleanliness and all this stuff. And then they're creating clusters of seats where you only can sit together and you're not next to the friend. So you go, okay, they're making an effort. But then I'm looking at this going, oh shit, they're planning on having fans like in September when they start the season. Like they're not thinking about, oh, we're gonna start a fanless NFL.
Which I thought that was the case.
I thought so too, but they laid that out like, no. And it's hilarious because it's in Miami. You know what I mean? Like
it's in like the new epicenter.
Yeah. It's like Charlie Sheen coming out and handing out condoms like outside of the thing. You're just like, wait, what? And they're made by Charlie? Like, like, are you sure, man?
Dude, we got to talk about cancel culture this week.
Oh, man. I'm going to get canceled. Let's go.
Yeah. So we'll get canceled on the latter half of the week. Nick Cannon, he came out and again, he had one of the former members of Public Enemy on his show. I can't remember what is the guy's name? I think I have it written down here. Professor Griff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what.
Who is known for kind of saying stuff like, like anti-Semitic stuff.
Didn't he get kicked out of Public Enemy because of that?
Yeah, he got kicked out. And but they were talking about stuff, and again, I'll let the listeners go and see exactly what he said. But basically, he said some things that were deemed anti-Semitic, and then so Viacom/CBS said no thanks, we'll let you go. And now I think he's like fighting for rights for his Wild 'N Out show and stuff, right? But I'm like, man, like we just last week we talked about the Deshaun Jackson, and so like it's already happening. And I know that he's in that space where he knows what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Or he has people that knows what's going on. And like, isn't anybody warning him? Because that was on his podcast.
Yep.
Isn't anybody warning him like, hey, this guy's coming on? And
they edited that, right? So you had another opportunity because we go through edits, right? So he edited that afterwards and somebody said, leave that on.
I don't know if he does it live or not. He might do it live. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
don't quote me on that. But I wonder, like, you know, we put our opinions out on this podcast clearly, but we know that there's always the other side to the coin, right? If you're gonna take a stance on something, especially something that's really sensitive like that, wouldn't you have somebody on the show to check you on those thoughts, or go like, you know what, like that's not exactly the way that is. Rather than having like it's like having an extremist across the table from you, and then you guys are just talking about extremist things. He's known for it. Now you're going along with it. Again, Nick Cannon had a whole lot more to lose than that guy.
Yeah,
I didn't even. Yeah, right. Like,
and he's quoting like Farrakhan, who's already controversial. You know, I think we talked about this a couple weeks back, maybe last week. But yeah, like you're already quoting Farrakhan, right? It's already touchy. I understand. I think what Nick thought he was trying to say, but you gotta be smarter than that. And then unfortunately, every time you do this, I feel like it kills their movement. It kills the BLM movement. It kills, like, because now people look at that and go, see, you guys do it too.
They're racist too.
They're racist too. And then while it doesn't make it right, it just gives fuel to the like, look, there's hate on both sides. We all have work to do. And it takes away from the movement that that Nick has been, very prominent in. And I know Nick represents Black culture as much as he can. And you always see him wearing the traditional clothing and he tries to get out there. I don't know how Nick still has a job. I was shocked. I think they just took the opportunity to fire him, to be honest with you. But, Fox stuck with him, which I'll give him that. So Fox stuck with him. So
the Masked Singer.
Yeah, and I can see that because I think so. If you want, I guess Nick is a charismatic guy, right? And you go, if you want a charismatic guy and it's a family friendly show, which is what Nick is known for, right? Like most of the time he does family friendly stuff. Unless you watch his stand up special or unless you watch, I guess evidently his podcast, he usually is not that controversial, right? Like he's always done, he grew up in Nickelodeon shows. He's doing, he's hosting like America's Got Talent. He's doing that stuff. So I think, I will say to Fox's credit, what he said wasn't so detrimental that you had like, no, we have to immediately distance ourselves. I think they came out and said, listen, Nick's aware of what he did. He's in the middle of getting educated. We're internally having conversations with him, whatever the political and the corporate hoopla was. But I think, again, just take an opportunity to educate him and move forward. Like, I don't necessarily want people fired who say racist shit, white, black, brown. I don't care. Like if they are remorseful and they're willing to learn, I think I'm like, cool.
And really, if it affects ratings over time, they're gonna fire him anyway.
Of course, listen. Everyone cares about the bag. This is why the Kanye thing like is so crazy. Like, if you haven't seen, Kanye goes off on his tangent.
Is he canceled?
Listen, I don't know how he hasn't been yet, right? But I think Kanye gets a pass because he clearly has a mental disorder, right? And so I go, nobody loves Kanye around him, clearly, because if I'd like to think, man, if I went out there and I said some shit like that, you would be the first person to call me to be like, hey, man, you all right? Like, like if I even told you I was thinking about doing something like that, you're like, yeah, I think you should think about that.
So I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw the comment about was it Harriet Tubman,
dude,
where he's like, she didn't free the slaves, she just sent them to work for other white people.
Yep. So he makes a comment like that. then he says, he tells the people he wants absolute silence and order, like in this rally of people who are supposed to support you, right? Like he's very dictatorish. Like when he's coming out, in typical Kanye fashion.
Was he wearing a vest?
He was wearing a bulletproof vest. then he's telling people his IQ is like 130. He's telling people his brain is too big for his skull. Like, he goes off on these tangents about abortion. Then he's talking about Planned Parenthood, and you're like, and the funny thing is, I go, as much shit as the Kardashians get, they're not dumb, right? So they let Kanye go off just enough because they know it's good for their ratings, because they still have to do keeping up with the Kardashians, right? The minute Kanye interferes with their money, that's when they're like, hey, man,
Wrap it up.
reel it in, get him back on the meds.
That's probably the mom.
Yep.
That's probably the mom doing that.
It's sad to see, man, because you're seeing, like, we were talking about this earlier. Like, you see Kanye on the Sway interview, he probably can't be controlled, right? Like, maybe there are people around him going, hey, ye, man, like, that was a little much. And he's like, I'm a genius. I'm the next Walt Disney. Like, get away from me. Like, you know, he's probably losing his shit going, you're only here because of me, you know, and it's hard to question someone of success. Like, if you've ever been around anybody who has any magnitude of success, it's very difficult to argue with them and tell them that they're wrong. Because people, and this goes to any walk in life, if you're a doctor, you assume that you're good at everything. If you're a lawyer, you assume that you're good at everything. Like, anybody who's considered in society, like, I think like a respected level of that, anytime I've ever met those people, most of them think they're geniuses at everything, right? So you go, I get that it would be difficult to probably reel Kanye in, but if anybody has the time, the money, the resources, the stuff, it's his family, man. It's his wife. It's that, and you go, the fact that they let him go off like that and embarrass himself and embarrass his family, and you go, you're willing to do it because it's good for the show, it's good for the money, or it's planned. So the other part of me goes,
he's not.
Like, so
That
the other
guy-
part of me
that guy's
goes,
not planned.
No. I mean, from them. They're going, Kim's going to mom, going, Mom, he's losing his shit. He's saying some stuff. And mom's like, let him go. And then the minute he says something that destroys your base, like, he starts talking about Planned Parenthood, and that's obviously going to be women, and that's Kim's base, and that's Kylie's base, and that's when they start to kind of reel him in. And he even makes a comment during a speech yesterday going, this one's probably going to cost me a divorce, but I got to speak my truth. And he's going off, which leads me to believe that Kim has already said, hey, man, stop fucking with Planned Parenthood. like, and so for him to make that comment, go, this one will probably lead me to divorce. Like, he clearly knows that one's wrong, and he goes off anyway. And you're going, I feel like these people are okay with him having his episodes as long as it's beneficial to them. And the minute it's not beneficial to them, they kind of reel him back in. And then, you know, like 2 weeks from now, he'll be on something apologizing, saying how he was off his meds and all that stuff. And it's sad, man, because mental illness is messed up. And you know, to me at this point is he doesn't have people around him who care about him enough to just shut him down, like commit him, put him in a hospital, get him some whatever.
But you know, you touched on something earlier that was like, I think that he believes that he's so much smarter than the people around him, and I think that I would imagine that if the people around him question whether it's his intelligence or his actions or what have you, I think he's the type that'll go kind of like what he did with Sway, like, you don't have the answers, I have the answers. Look what I've done.
Yep.
You know, and so I could totally see that, you know, see that guy doing it. And then if he has, like, is he bipolar? I don't know if is that like official? I believe
he has come out and said that he is bipolar.
Okay.
So I'm gonna assume that it's a diagnosed disorder because according to him, he is bipolar. And for people to know, the thing is that this overshadows a lot of the good that Kanye did. Because as an artist, Kanye was amazing. As a producer, Kanye was amazing. And the thing is Kanye changed. And I think it's easy for people to forget this. But, you know, rap used to be the braggadocious kind of, you know, gangbanging. Like, everybody was talking about how much money they had or you know, how much drugs they were selling, all that. Kanye was really the first kind of guy to come out and start to make that shift, right? Like, remember, Kanye used to come out, he wasn't from the hood, you know, he's from Chicago, but he wasn't like, hey, Southside, I'm from the hood, this and that. Like, his mom is like a college professor. He was wearing like polo shirts, like that was, and then people started dressing differently because of Kanye. And it's easy to forget that he did mean a lot to a movement. He made it okay for kids to be like, oh, I can wear a polo shirt, and it doesn't have to be a shirt down to my knees, like a baggy shirt or the super baggy jeans. And I can rap about things that aren't, you know, gangbanging. Like, I think Kanye was one of the first people to really make that shift. Like, when he came out, Through the Wire was a song about his feelings about going through the car accident thing. You go, how often did that happen in rap pre that? It wasn't very common. And Kanye shift that narrative, but we don't talk about that anymore, man. You say Kanye and people just go, that guy's nuts. Like, because he's lost his shit. He's ruined relationships. He's like, and I think this, unfortunately, man, it's going to have a bad ending. Like the Kanye story doesn't end well. Either he does something to himself or somebody does something to him, or like it's not gonna have a pleasant ending, and it's a shame because as far as musical genius goes, Kanye was as a producer, he was and for people who don't follow hip hop, don't follow rap, like Kanye changed again the way he's rapping about Jesus. Remember, he's sampling old songs and he's turned into hip hop. Like Kanye was one of a kind, truly, man. He produced Jay-Z's Jay-Z's probably infamous album, Blueprint 2. Kanye produced most of that album, and as much as Jay-Z's rapping was obviously phenomenal in that album, the beats were equally as amazing. That's Kanye before anybody knew who Kanye West was. And so it's a shame because I think his career, unfortunately, is going to be overshadowed by all this crazy shit.
It absolutely will. I mean, it just makes you think, like, if you never heard him speak, you just think this guy's a genius.
Yeah, right.
If really, like, you think what he thinks about himself.
Yeah.
That he's a genius. If he never gets in front of a mic to actually talk to people, talk about his ideas, and but because he's done that over the years and in his eccentric ways, we look at him differently.
And I'll say, because even with the clothing, right? Like he had a genius deal that didn't work out well with Nike. Then he went to Adidas. He changed the way kind of the fashion thing. Like his sneakers always sold out. Like anything he touched turned to gold. So it's hard, if you're him, it's very difficult to argue with him and tell him he's not good or not great, right? Not transcendent. Like it's hard to tell someone who wakes up every day and goes, listen, man, I have X amount of platinum albums. All my sneakers sell out in seconds. It's like you can't argue with someone like that. Like it's impossible. And then you go, he has a deal with Gap now, which I thought was a genius deal by Gap. But I'm wondering at this point, do they separate themselves from him? I don't think they will. Like,
I wonder if they just go, this will go away. I mean, he doesn't. This whole presidential thing is going to go away, right?
He doesn't. Man.
He doesn't even have like most of this. I shouldn't say most of the states, but there's a few key states that he can't even get on the ballot. So it's gonna go away.
And I don't think he expects to win, right? Like,
but I wonder if Gap is like, let's just close our eyes.
Well, if you're Gap,
this is over.
You had to have those conversations internally, right? And go, this is what we're getting from this guy. And we're willing to live with it. Like, there's no way that if you're Gap, if you're executives from Gap, like, obviously both of us having worked in corporate America and having been in rooms where conversations like this happen, there's no way that thing get brought up, that they didn't go, it's a little risky.
Like, are you sure?
Yeah. And someone went, nope, but yep. Like, like, are you sure? Nah, but like, he's going to say something stupid. That's probably what the conversation was. Listen, he's going to say something stupid, but it'll be stupid in a sense. It'll be things we're willing to live with. Like, they're going to go, he won't say anything that's maybe misogynistic. He won't say anything that's homophobic. He won't, like, what are we willing to live with? He'll say things against his own people. So he's black. So if he says things against black people, we're willing to live with that because it'll be controversial just to the black community, but it can't be looked at as racist because it's towards his own guys. So you almost start to do the math and go, yeah, we're willing to live with that. Because at the end of the day, I bet you his shit at Gap sells out.
I wonder if the CEO tells like the head of marketing, if this doesn't work out, that's your ass.
Do you think, man? I don't who
because it is. I mean, it's a risk. He's a risk, bro.
Is it, man?
Absolutely.
Like if you're Gap, to me, there's nowhere to go. Like, have you bought Gap lately? No, nobody has. Like, Gap had their run, right, at some point in time. But these days, man, like to me, if you're Gap, that's an easy kind of buy, and you go, this can only end up sucking for us if we guarantee him some kind of money, right?
Or if he doesn't, if he's not controversial, then it sucks for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Very, very true. Because I guarantee you, if a Yeezy Gap t-shirt dropped tomorrow, it's sold out. There's no way that it's not sold out. It's sold out. It's going to sell out. And the secondary market for it, people are going to be selling that t-shirt for like $300 online. Which I think one of the biggest beefs I have with him is I remember specifically an interview he did when he was getting into shoes and all this stuff, and he was talking about how he grew up and couldn't afford fashion. Like he's really big into Versace and all these high name brands. And I remember him he took unpaid internships. Again, to his credit, took unpaid internships in the fashion industry because he said, I don't know anything about that. I want to learn. And so he acted like any other intern and went to places and wanted to soak in and sat behind some of the best fashion minds, I guess, that are out there, because he wanted to learn fashion that much. And he said because when he was younger, fashion wasn't accessible to him. My beef with that dude is that you drop $230 sneakers. How is that accessible to the people who wasn't too accessible before? Like and you drop a limited supply, so you increase the demand, so then the secondary market makes these sneakers worth $500 or $600. And listen, I'm not complaining. I buy Yeezys all the time to flip them because they go for that much more money. Yeah. But you can't sit there and say, hey, fashion wasn't accessible to me. I couldn't wear this good clothes, and I couldn't have access to these brands and to this quality and all that stuff, and then do the exact same thing that they're doing. Like, you don't have Versace prices, but you don't have affordable prices. Like, if you're a kid in the south side of Chicago and you're a single mom or whatever, and you're working like a regular job making minimum wage, you can't afford Yeezys, right? Like, that's
the one side of the bipolar.
Yep. He's like, well, the designer in me doesn't believe in affordability.
My 132 IQ told me
that I should maximize money. And I'm not mad at that, but just don't come out and say that you're doing it because you wanted it to be accessible.
But that's him, right? Like, he comes out one time and he's this way, and then he comes out another time and he's the other way. It's part of his craziness.
Dude, I could talk about this guy for an hour by itself, man.
So another guy that canceled himself was Logic. You hear about that?
No. Wait, so Logic?
Logic said he's coming out with another album. I think it's called like...
But he's mochaccino. How did he get canceled? What did he say?
No. I said he canceled himself.
Oh, he canceled himself.
He's I'm retaring.
Oh, he's retiring.
Yeah.
So he's dropping one last album and he's out?
He's dropping another album. It's going to be called No Pressure. But he has I don't know if he has a kid on the way or he has a young kid now. He's just like, I want to focus on being a father. And so he's done with it, man. He's worth about 14 million.
He'll be all right.
He'll be fine. He's dropped like 6 albums. That dude is funny, man. I looked him up and his name is actually Sir Robert Bryson Hall II.
Isn't that hilarious?
Right? And I'm thinking to myself, where the hell did the Sir come from? And it said his mom just threw it in there.
So his actual legal name is Sir?
Sir.
That's hilarious.
Right.
Good for his
and it's
mom.
funny, so his parents were like his father was black, his mother was white.
Dude, that's what happens when your mom's a junkie. You get cool
that's
shit
what it
like
was.
Sir, man.
Well, his mom was like an alcoholic.
Yo, shout out to the junkie moms.
His father was hooked on cocaine.
Yep.
And so kudos to that guy for overcoming, that.
It's a shitty situation.
That home, yeah.
In Baltimore, man. I think. He grew up in Baltimore, right?
I don't know where he's from.
He's from a shitty area. He doesn't get enough credit, man. That kid lyrically is pretty good. And again, conscience and, has songs that are bangers, right? That just don't make no sense. And then he has songs that are really socially conscious and stuff. I like him, man. It'd be a shame if he retires that young, because I don't even think he's 30 yet.
I don't know.
So, but you know what, man? All these guys say that, and they'll be back. But if he doesn't, you know what? Good for you. You want to go out on your own terms. You drop one album. You want to go be a dad. I think he has aspirations to be a writer and direct movies and do that whole thing too. So maybe he'll kind of shift and have like a second career now. I didn't know that, man.
He'll do like Childish Gambino, Donald Glover.
Dude, is there anything that guy can't do, man?
Man, that guy's doing everything.
He makes me mad, dude. I watch him do stand-up, and he's dope. And you watch him act, and he's dope. And you watch him sing, and he's dope. And you watch him rap, and he's dope. I'm like, how? Like, it doesn't make any sense, man. Save some talent for the rest of us. Like, that him and Bradley Cooper pissed me off, man. Bradley Cooper is like a great actor. He looks like a damn statue. And then he drops the movie and he's singing.
And he sings.
And he's playing guitar, and it's him. And you're just like, bro, for real, man? Like,
I love that guy because I go like, that's like the best friend that I never had.
Like, you weren't just happy being handsome? Damn, bro. Like, you have to take everything.
That guy in those Hangover movies, it's like that's the guy you want to go on a trip with.
Of course. Oh man, but yeah, that whole thing, man.
Dude, staying on the cancel culture stuff, man. Ellen DeGeneres. So there's been like 10 like former employees and one current employee that has come on and said, oh, like there's like racism and like abusive sort of treatment behind the scenes, but it's not from her. So like all the headlines obviously say Ellen DeGeneres because she's the name, right?
It's like the show.
No, it's the producers.
The producers?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course they're dicks. It's a successful show. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying, I shouldn't say of course they're dicks, right? Because it doesn't
No,
mean
of course
you
they're
don't
dicks.
you don't have to be a dick to be successful. But we've seen it time and time again of where like it takes a certain level of, I don't want to call it dickness, right? But holding people accountable to doing their job at a high standard.
Yeah, but it is dickness, right? Like you go. There's a certain personality trait you have to have that you bulldoze your way through people to get to a certain status in life. Like one of the things, like Gary Vee, right? Like Gary Vee is one like the anti this, right? Like he'll say like on positivity, you can be nice to people and still make it.
I have that guy in my head, right? And so when I say you have to be, I hear him going.
But if you think about Gary Vee, dude, he dicked his way there. Like I look at Gary Vee and he's so overpowering, right? Because if you think about when he has a conversation, even on his tea with Gary Vee, he's people talk and he immediately cuts them off and speaks over them. His personality, now he may not be malicious in his intent, but his personality is so overwhelming that you almost have no choice but to kind of acquiesce to what he's saying. And that in itself is overpowering and it's like a dickish move. It's just that he's nice about it, right? Like these other guys.
It does come across that way. And he's addressed that in the past where he'll say, I'm not being a dick, but I know what you're going to say because I've heard it so many times.
But that in itself is a dick move, right? Like if you know what I'm going to say, right? Like be patient and hear me out. But he's so impatient and he wants them.
It's only an hour show.
You know why? Exactly. Because he goes, this is my time. So because it's my time and listen, I'm not knocking Gary Vee because I do that to people, right? Like if I know what you're going to say, nothing irks me more than having to sit through the entire thing. Like it drives me insane when I know what the end of the story is and I have to sit there and listen to it. I'm just like, like, okay. Anyway, like, so I get it, but I'm going for someone who built a brand on like, positivity. And I will say, I don't think he does it in a malicious way. So there is something positive about that, but he's still overpowering you. And to me, like like being a dick in that scenario and climbing your way to the top doesn't necessarily mean you have to be malicious. You just have to impose your will on people. Whether that will is good or bad or how people read it, you're still imposing your will. And Gary Vee walks into a room and commands the room. Like Gary Vee's not sitting in a corner listening to anybody, right? Like he's going, oh yeah, okay, anyway, I heard you, blah, blah, blah. And he just completely dominates the conversation. Like it's just, so you do have to have a personality trait, man, that to me, that you overpower a room. Like there's no getting around that.
Yeah, and I think that doing a successful show like Ellen DeGeneres, right? So she's obviously the talent. She's a nice person. She's the one giving away things and feel good, right? But that's for us. Behind the scenes, it's got to be chaos.
And it's exhausting. If you're Ellen, you're always like the dancing person and being.
But no,
nice
she's not the one being
shit.
accused of being of being like that. It's the producers in the back, and they've actually come out and been like, yeah, we are that way.
Yep,
we're gonna work on it.
You know what pisses me off about this stuff, man? So like, and even I think a few months back there was like a cancel Ellen thing. Like people came out and said that Ellen wasn't very nice. It's just like she's really rude, and you're like she'll make you go home and shower if you smell and whatever. Like
I would too.
I would too. Yep, absolutely, man. And, like if you show up to my set and you stink, I'm sending you home. Like I'm sorry. So she has like anyway, all these people have come out, and then all these people are coming out against the producers. My beef with this is obviously happening because that show's not going on right now. Like you can't tape in front of a live audience. You can't.
Isn't she is doing it in some aspect
by
from
herself,
her house,
right? So there's no crew, there's no this and that. So now, I don't know what the scenario is. Maybe these guys aren't getting paid. They're all on furlough. They're all whatever. But it's like It's like when the hand was feeding you, you were okay. Like, these people are dicks, but I'm going to go ahead and take that check. And now that it doesn't benefit you anymore, right now that you're not in that circle, suddenly you want to come out and speak out against it. Because Ellen's been on TV for what, 15 years, 20 years on her daytime show? You had 15 years to come out. It's like the same thing. I think of all these people who come out now and want to complain about like how they were treated. It's like, where was that energy when it was happening? When you were getting paid? You were okay when you were getting paid. Now that it's no longer benefiting you, you have to speak out against it. Like, nah, I want that same energy you had when you were collecting that check.
Yeah, because we could all complain about our jobs, about different things, and like I said too, I really think to be a part of something that successful, it's not easy. It's not butterflies and yarn. You know what I mean? Like, these people are going in there, they're working their asses off. And yeah, behind the scenes, they're probably getting yelled at if somebody's not where they're supposed to be. Somebody's not shooting the right shot. So, somebody's a little bit late. And so I can't argue with it.
No. And if you've, and to your point, if you've ever been around anything great like that, it's going to happen. If you've ever worked for a company that's good, or worked with someone who's really good, there's a reason, again, that they get there, and there's going to be competitiveness. There's going to be animosity. There's going to be friction and tension and all this stuff. It always irks me to see these people come out, because it never comes out when the show's doing well. Just like, whenever someone comes out, like an assistant for an actor or whatever, it's like when you were collecting the check from the actor, you were fine, right? Like, it was only when they fired you or when you retired or whatever that you decided to write the book or do whatever. It's like, I always said, like, keep the same energy. If you were talking shit while you were working there and getting paid, I'm going to respect you all day. But it's the people who come out after the fact that I'm always like, you were willing to do it as long as it was beneficial to you. Like, how much did it really bother you when you were willing to get paid for it? Like, I don't know. It's just, that stuff I'm always like iffy about, man. It just, It rubs me the wrong way.
How we doing on time?
But listen, we're well over the hour here. We're an hour 10. But before we go, man, did you see the thing from Spirit Airlines?
Briefly.
So if you guys don't know, somebody assaulted a Spirit Airlines employee, like, in front of the gate at the airport. Like, they just got into an all-out rumble and just started beating up on the Spirit Airline. And listen, I would never condone violence, but I get it. I don't support it, but I understand.
But what happened?
Having just come back from a flight on Spirit Airlines, I too wanted to assault some people. Like, Spirit Airlines is the most frustrating airline in the world, dude. Like, they're running a Ponzi scheme. If you're traveling and all you have is you and you're like, and nothing, you're fine on Spirit, right? But if no one travels that way, right? So if you're making a day trip somewhere, then Spirit's fine. But if you're trying to spend some time anywhere and you're having a bag, then you might as well take anybody else who includes all the stuff in the fee. Like, Spirit, I had this tweet and Spirit's been hitting me up on DMs and I'm still not responding because I'm just pissy. But like, I go during their whole mantra, their whole like pre-flight emergency routine is like, oh, in the event of an emergency, a card reader will drop from above the overhead cabin, because they charge you for fucking everything. Like, it's irks. Like, for a soda or a water on their flight, they charge you. And again, I'm not saying that I support this person beating them, but I understand why they did it, because I wanted to assault them.
So if the plane's going down and the card reader drops first,
yep,
swipe the card. Then you get the
access to oxygen. Yep. And then even if it's like help the person next to you, that's another fee. Otherwise, that person has to do it themselves. You gotta pay to help the neighbor.
They just die on the way down.
Dude, they charge you for every. You know what's crazy to me, dude, is that during this, first off, they don't skip seats. The plane is full. Like, we're stuffed in there like sardines. And Puerto Ricans,
there are other ones that are skipping seats.
Yes, not Spirit, dude. Spirit. If you never rode Spirit, it's not even a chair. I'm not even gonna call it a chair, bro. They stick you on a piece of plastic with cloth over it, right? And they stuff as many people as they can in a pressurized tube, and they slingshot it. I think you have to get out actually and help push it to push start the airplane. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. But they're not like, they're requiring masks, and the first thing they tell you is to sit down. Like, masks are required. If you do not have one, we will provide one at a charge. How the fuck do you charge for safety? Like, what happens if I'm on your flight and the elastic to my mask breaks?
Do you have to swipe to get the seatbelt?
Yep, I think so. You have to pay for the seatbelt, for water to use the bathroom. I'm pretty sure you got to swipe for that. It's so insane. If you want them to close the door for the plane to take off, everyone has. It's like a church collection plate. They just pass it along, and if you don't get enough, they don't take off. It's so fucking frustrating, man.
To their defense, I did fly them one time. I think it was into Jersey, into Atlantic City, because they're the only ones that fly in there.
Place you could fly into.
But to your defense, I was by myself. I think I just had like one bag. I was there for like a week, and I did get charged for the bag. And
$45 for a backpack.
I don't remember. No, it wasn't a backpack. It was a
bag.
It was a bag. I had to be there for a week.
It's $100 on bags. That's another person, dude. Like, I can literally smuggle inside of another human being for the same amount of money.
Maybe I didn't care because it was for the company.
Because it's expensive. Yeah. Listen, it irks the shit out of me when you, like, to me, and the only reason I took them this time was because I had no choice, because I would rather take like an American or a Delta and all that, because even if it's $100 more, it's the same price or cheaper, and you get a better experience. You get a more comfortable seat. Like, I couldn't feel my back for 4 days after flying Spirit. I was literally, you ever seen those like those racing bucket seats that they put in cars, like in NASCARs, where it's just like straight metal? That's what the seats are like on airplanes. Those are not meant for you to be sitting in for a prolonged period of time.
So are we canceling Spirit?
Listen, man, if I never have to fly Spirit again, I would be oh so grateful. So when I saw this person, like, low key, they were my hero, like attacking the Spirit worker, because I don't condone the violence, but I really understand why they did that. Because a few times.
But what happened? I don't
know, man. I don't care. All I saw was someone assaulted a Spirit worker, and I immediately went, did they win the fight? And I just looked at the video because I'm like, it's like them and Frontier. I can't do it, man.
Oh, I think I flew Frontier once. Yeah, never again.
No, listen, people, do the research and then factor in your bags and your water, and if you intend to use the bathroom, or if you'd like access to an oxygen mask or a life vest or whatever. Like, it's the same price as taking Delta or American Airlines or JetBlue or anybody else. I could talk about this for an hour. They piss me off. I can't.
Spirit, unless you're gonna offer me a lot of free flights,
you're gonna turn into a Spirit.
Do not hit us up.
Do not hit us up.
Yo, man. Where can they find us?
All right, man. Hey, check us out. We got a YouTube channel, right? At the Carbon Footprint Podcast on YouTube. You can catch us on Instagram at the Carbon Footprint. And then you can get us on Spotify, on Apple, on Stitcher, on TuneIn, on Google Podcasts. Pretty much anywhere where you get a podcast, you can find us. So don't forget to subscribe. Keep the feedback coming. We appreciate you guys. On Twitter and on Instagram, I am at Juan on Stage.
Really, the best place to find us is at the Carbon Footprint Podcast on Instagram. We check that constantly. We are replying to everything. Been really appreciative of the love we've been getting from, mostly family and friends.
Yeah,
and that's awesome. I think we got a couple people worldwide. I saw somebody in Malta probably stumbled across us.
That's
somebody
an accident.
Australia, somebody in the UK. So if y'all listening, shout out to you guys too.
Man, shout out to you guys, man. We had a couple this week from international, but shout out to you guys, man. If it was an accident, you heard the first 15 seconds and you realized you were in the wrong place, shout out to you anyway.
This ain't no damn carbon footprint.
We got the carbon footprint shot glass here. I don't even know if the camera's still rolling, but carbon footprint shot glass.
Got the shirts.
We got the shirts. Some people hit us up about merch. We'll someday working on it. We're working on it. But if merch is something you guys would be interested in, let us know, man. We'll if we have to do like a limited release, a limited drop, and then maybe we just sell a few and just drop it for a limited time. Let us know. That's something you guys would be interested in, man. But thank you guys again, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.